we are in part 4 of our series, Roots. We have this week and next week is our last week. If you have missed any of the past sermons, I highly recommend you go back and listen, impactchurchmd.com/roots, and you can find all your sermons on there. But what we've been talking about basically this entire time is that we all have roots, and what we produce is indicated by our roots. In fact, this has been our main point, our entire series, is the root produces your fruit. That your foundation and what you're connected to as your root, it produces the fruit that everyone sees. If you want to change your fruit, if you want to have better fruit that you show the world, it has nothing to do with working on the fruit. It has to do with working on deep down what's your root, what's your foundation. If you want to follow Jesus more and you want to show the fruits of the Spirit, like we talked about week 1, you don't work on just trying to be more patient. You don't work on just trying to love you more. You work on your relationship with God. And with that root, when you change that root, it'll produce a different fruit. And we've basically been talking about the foundation of this church, and we just celebrated our 1 year last week. And throughout this series, we've been talking about some of our mission and what some of our core values are. And here's our mission statement. Those of you that haven't been here, it says, we want to help those that don't know Jesus be impacted by him, and we want to help those that already know Jesus to make an impact through him. Basically, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do what Jesus called us to do, to go and make disciples. We want people that don't know Jesus to meet Jesus, and then not think, okay, I met Jesus, I'm good to go, I'm finished. No, that's just the starting point. Then from there, how do we look more like Jesus and grow to look more like him? So we've been talking about some of our core values, some of the roots of this mission statement. We talked about worship, and we've talked last week about community, and this week we're talking about service. Service. When preparing this message today, I understand that when I talk about serving and having a servant heart and serving in some capacity, that I'm talking to a lot of different people in this room that have different strengths, different talents, are made differently, that God has made each one of you differently. You're created and designed differently. And I know that for some of you, the idea of serving is easy. That's kind of who you are, that's in your DNA. And for others of you, that just doesn't feel easy for you. It's not there. In fact, I was talking to Frank this week about this, but at least Frank and I and some other people in the church are really big on the Enneagram, for any of you that have looked that up. We're really big on that, and basically what the Enneagram is, it's a self-assessment tool that puts you into 9 different types. There's really a lot more types than that, but just to be simple, 9 different types. And as you learn more about the type that you are, who you are, why you do the things you do, how God has made you, you start to discover a lot more. And Frank and I, since we've been doing it, have really learned a lot about us and why I do some of the things that I do and why when I'm unhealthy, I tend to do some things. So we've been talking a lot about that. In fact, we've been preparing for a group that we're going to be starting. The first Wednesday of October is the first one, our Enneagram group. So if you're interested in learning more about it, that I would highly recommend going to that. But for Enneagram, there's a bunch of different types if you don't know, and type 2 is a helper. Type 2 is someone that helps a lot. My wife is a 2. She loves to help. She loves it. She's designed to help people. So for some of you that you kind of fall into that category, serving is easy for you because you're designed to want to help. Like that's what you are. But then there's other people that are 4s. And if you don't know what 4 is, Frank is a 4. 4s are very unique. They are very unique. They know they're unique. And because of that, they, a lot of times when they're unhealthy, think about themselves before they think about other people. So some of you might be in the room, and when you're unhealthy, you're like, I don't want to serve. I don't want to give up my time, because when I do that, then, man, it's a whole thing. So I understand the challenge of talking to you guys who are all different, guys and girls who are all different, who are all designed differently, about the need to serve. But here's what I know, that no matter what your strengths are, no matter what your passions are, no matter who you are called to put others first through service. No matter who you are, no matter how good you are at certain things, you are called and designed to put others first through service. It may look different for you than it does for me, because God made you differently than he made me. But God made all of us, called us, commands us, and qualifies us to serve other people. To practice putting the needs of somebody else ahead of our needs of serving. See, a good measuring stick for your spiritual walk and your spiritual life is the depth of service for other people. That's a good measuring stick for you. And let me give you an analogy. On Mondays is normally my day off. Sometimes I switch it because of child issues, but Mondays are normally my day off, so Mondays I try not to do any work. So here's what I do on Mondays most of the time because my wife has to work on Mondays. It's my day off. So normally what I try to do is clean the house a little bit. I try to do some laundry, which I hate doing laundry. I'll fold it all day because I'll sit in front of the TV and fold it. It never gets put into a drawer ever. Like that's a whole thing. But I hate doing laundry. And another thing I do is I try to make dinner, a little nicer dinner. I've gotten really into smoking recently. I said this again. Smoking meats, not like hey, a new thing I'm trying to do. Like a smoker, I bought a smoker, okay, everyone with me? Okay. So I've gotten really into that. So on Mondays, I normally try to do that because when my wife gets home from work and I've been off all day, I want her to come home and the house is a little cleaner than she left it, and there's normally a nice dinner coming. So that's what I try to do. And the reason why I do that for my wife is because I love her. That's why. I wouldn't do that for Frank if he was coming over. He can bring me food, you know what I mean? I love Frank, but not as much as I love Erica. So when you start to love and actually truly care about people, you will do things to serve them and put them ahead of you. Imagine if every Monday I just sat on the couch all day and watched TV because it's my day off, and Erica worked all day, came home, and the house was worse than when she left it. There was no food, and I said, well, where's the food, Erica? Come on, you're home. Let's figure it out. Imagine if I said that, and then at the end of the day I said, hey, Erica, I love you so much. She may say, well, you don't love me enough to clean up. You don't love me enough to make dinner. You don't love me enough to serve. If we care about people, no matter who you are, we should be serving. We should be putting others first. See, you may say you care about people, but your actions prove it. Your actions prove whether you do. So the rest of the time, I want to talk about two things. I'll give you two reasons why we should serve. Two reasons why I believe that all of us, no matter who we are, should put others first through serving. And here's number one. You can write it down on your message notes as well. Number one is this: serving shows you love God. Why do we serve? Because serving shows that you love God. Matthew chapter 25, if you have your Bibles, you can open up to Matthew chapter 25 or your Bible apps. But in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus is talking to his disciples here. He's talking to his disciples and he gives this parable that is a little alarming for me at least. And I think when we all read this together, it should be alarming for most of us. Here he starts with this metaphor, and he's talking about how the Son of Man will eventually come back, and he will take all of the nations, and he will divide them up. And here's the metaphor: like a shepherd divides the sheep and the goats. And then here's what he says about the sheep, and then he continues on with the goats. So we're just going to read right through in Matthew chapter 25, starting in verse 34. Here's what Jesus says to his disciples and to us. Verse 34. Come, you who are blessed by my Father. You take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. Continue on in verse 41. Then he will say to those on his left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not look after me. They will also answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or needing clothes or sick in prison and did not help you? He will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. Both groups are surprised. When the king replies, both groups go, I don't remember serving. I don't remember feeding you. Both groups, the sheep and the goats, are completely surprised. Both groups, but they respond differently. I remember when I worked at a bagel place, bagel place called Cafe Bagel in Elkridge. And when I was there was this guy that would work there. And when the boss was there, he was a completely different guy than when the boss wasn't there. When the boss was there, he was wiping down tables. He was making everything spick and span. He was cutting the bagels. He was taking deliveries out. He kept bossing me around like he was my boss. Like, hey, make sure you do this right. I'm like, okay, chill. And he would do all this stuff. The second the boss left, he would go to the lobby and get on his phone and sit there. And I couldn't get him to do anything. I was like, come on, man, what's going on here? And the same thing's happening here. If both of these groups knew they were serving the king, they both would have fed him and helped them out. Both of them would have done it. But only one group did it for the least of these, not knowing that mattered. They both were surprised. But according to Jesus, when you don't care for them, you don't care for him. According to Jesus. Jesus may say, you know what? You love me by loving them, by serving them, by putting them first. I'm glad you go to church. I'm glad you have faith. This passage didn't say anything about them not having enough faith, did it? I'm glad you do that. I am glad that you pray. I'm glad that you do all that stuff. But you want to show that you love me? Love them. Love them, and that's how I will know that you love me. See, we love God by loving others, and we love others by serving. We love God by loving others. And how do we love others? We serve them. We put them first. We put their needs ahead of ours. So you can say you love your spouse, but your service to them proves it. You can say you love your friends, but how you serve them shows it. You can say you love your kids, but how you serve them confirms it. And you can say you love God, but according to Jesus, without loving them, others, Jesus says you don't. So why do we serve? It's our proof that we love God when we serve others, number one. And number two, serving honors God with your talents. When you serve, serving honors God with your talents. Like I said at the beginning, we are all different and unique. And here's the thing that I have loved the most out of this first year in church and first year of Impact and doing this every week and getting here early and meeting so many different people. The thing that I love the most is that we have so many different people that have so many different talents than I do that if I had to do everything by myself, like let's say we could clone me, things would be rough. Yeah, we'd have a sermon, but you guys would hate the worship. Everyone would show up late because if I had a clone up there singing, oh my gosh, ask Erica. It's terrible. I can't sing at all. I can play drums. I can play like 3 songs on guitar. Can't sing at all. So if I had to do that, man, it'd be done. Your kids in there wouldn't learn anything. They would learn some Marvel trivia. That's about it. They'd come in and be like, hey, what'd you learn? It's like, well, I learned about the 6 stones. I know all those, but I don't know anything about Jesus. Because I'm not that great when it comes to little kids. I'm not the best greeter. Like, I can do it, but we have people that are way better, and they make you feel way more loved than I can if we just had a bunch of me. Like, if we had to clone me, things would not work. But because we have so many different people that are so different, that use their gifts and talents to make this church better, we're able to do this. In fact, last week, if you were here, we had the 1-year celebration. We had that big donut wall. We had all those balloons right here, right? Telling you, if I was in charge of all that stuff, we would have had like 4 helium balloons here, 4 helium balloons here, and just a plate with donuts. Like, it wouldn't have happened without other people because I'm not good at that stuff. But this stage is built. We had people that built this stage for us. I don't know how to build anything. Ask my dad. Every time something goes wrong, I call him. So I don't know how to do it. We have so many people that have so many different gifts and talents, and it's only because everyone comes together and uses their gifts to glorify God that we as a church are able to do what we do. Here's how Paul says it in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 12. Just as a body, though one, has many parts, but all its many parts from one body, so it is with Christ. See, you are unique, and your uniqueness is important to the body of Christ. Your uniqueness is important. In fact, I don't know if any of you guys know about Strength Finders. How many know about Strength Finders? Ever heard of Strength Finders? Taken before? Okay, some of you. So I've taken Strength Finders before, and what Strength Finders is, if you don't know what it is it takes 36 different strengths that all of us use at some time, and we can use it however, in whatever situation we are in, and it lets you know what your top 5 strengths are. So what you're naturally good at. And what StrengthsFinder says is what you should do instead of trying to work more on what you're bad at and try to make that better, which a lot of us like to do, we take our top 5, which we're really good at, and just work on those and just be the best at those. So, for example, Woo is one that you can have. Woo is called winning others over. That means that you can go into a room and anyone in that room is your potential best friend, okay? That's not me. I can't really do that, okay? Some of you are really good at that. I can do it if I have to. I'm just not naturally good at that. But some of the other things that, like competition is one of mine. I'm a very competitive guy. That's a strength of mine. So here's what I was finding. Here's what's crazy about StrengthsFinders as we look at it. All of us show those strengths at some point. But if you take your top 5, not in order, there's a 1 in 275,000 chance that you would find somebody else with the same top 5 as you, not in order. You put that top 5 in order, it's 1 in 33 million chance that you will find somebody like that. And then you take your top 10, and you look at your top 10 strengths, the strengths that God has given you, and you look at it in order, there's a 1 in 447 trillion chance that you will find somebody with the same top 10 as you in that order. That many people have not lived yet. That's how unique you are. That your top 10, no one else has the top 10 strengths that you have. That is how unique you are. In order to be able to be used by God, here's what's key. You have to be honest with who you are first. You have to be honest with who you are and how God has given you your talents and what God has blessed you with, and not try to force yourself into a situation just because, but use the gifts and talents that you have. Don't force it. In fact, here's what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 12, 15 through 19, continuing on. Now, if the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. We are all many different parts. And here's why I'll take the blame for this, for what happens a lot as the church. Because the church is really good at pressuring and guilting you to serve in an environment at a need, not gifting. We're really good at that. Like, for example, we'll say, like, hey, we really need help in Impact Kids, and if you're an owner of Impact Church, this is part of you, so you need to make sure you're in, like, we need help, we need people to sign up. And some of you will be like, okay, I don't really like kids, I kind of want to kick them in the face every time I see them, but they need help, so I guess I'll go in there. And you'll sign up for it, and you might last for a couple weeks, but after a while, you're going to be like, I hate this, I don't want to be in here, I hate kids, I just found out, this is not my calling. But the church sometimes pressures you so much and guilts you so much to be like, you got to serve somewhere. And kids is available. Hey, you got to serve, and we need greeters. You don't like to talk to people, but we need you out there, okay? So you need to do that. The church, we've done this, and we've kind of built that pressure for some of us. Here's what you need to know. If you are part of an impact team, because we have many different impact teams. We have Set Up, Tear Down, we have Worship, we have Kids, we have Check-In, we have Care and Outreach, we have a bunch of different teams. If you are part of an impact team and you serve, whether it's every week, every other week, whether it's twice a month, whether it's once a month, if you do that, you are serving. You are serving, and you are using your gifts and talents to serve. But here's on top of that. If you stay home with the kids so your spouse can go serve, you're serving. That's your way of serving. Trust me, I have had to take my kids to church by myself. It's not fun, right? So if you have kids, I have 3 of them. I remember the first time when I had a chance, I worked at a church for so long, the first time I had a chance to take my whole family to church together, I was so excited. I was like, Eric, I can't believe it. I get to go with you and bring the kids to church. It's going to be so fun because I always was working. I was always there before them. And that first Sunday was terrible. I remember being like, you do this every week? Like, oh my goodness, this is the worst. I have to do this every week? So I used to be mad when people with kids showed up late to church. Like, why can't they get there on time? Listen, if you have kids, I'm just so glad you're here. Because I tried it one time and I wanted to quit, okay? So if you stay home with the kids so your husband or your wife can come here and serve early, you're serving. That's what you're doing. You're using your gifts and talents to serve. And for some of you, if you use the gifts and traits and unique things that only you know how to do to help the body. For example, I've had people come over and help fix my air conditioner. I've I've had people that know cars come over and help fix cars. You've had that happen. I mean, we've had to move, people have come over. When you do that, you're serving. Listen, we have great opportunities right here for you to serve, but this isn't the only place you can serve. It's not. There are so many other ways. Could we use you? Of course, we always can. But I don't want to throw you in kids just because we need people in kids. I want you to use the gifts and talents and what you have available to you in order to serve, because when you do that, you're using those talents. Using your talents to help others is serving God. Using your talents to help other people, whatever that looks like, whether it's on a Sunday morning or not, whether it's during the week, whether it's you know how to fix an air conditioner to show up at someone's house, that is serving God. But where a lot of us fall short is our willingness to be available to serve. See, it's hard to serve when you aren't looking for those opportunities that are right in front of you. And I heard a great analogy, and I'm going to close with this analogy, from a pastor named T.D. Jakes. Some of you might know him. And he gave this great analogy. I'm just going to give it to you. But here's what he said. God has never made a table. He doesn't make tables. God doesn't make chairs. God doesn't make furniture. You know what God makes? Trees. And then we take those trees and we use our creativity and our smarts and what God has gifted us, the creativity that He has designed and the opportunity that we have, and we create tables and chairs and walls and cabins and all these amazing, amazing things. So what I want you to do is when God hands you a tree, you look at it and you just imagine what that could be. Man, what could this be? Maybe you have the ability to sing. You just imagine what that ability of singing can do. Maybe you have just the ability to connect with people. Imagine what you could do with that ability. Maybe you have love for kids. Imagine what you can do with that love for kids. Maybe you have the ability to speak and articulate. Imagine what that could be. See, God gives you the opportunity, and what you do with that opportunity is the way you serve Him. It's your gift to Him. That's what He does. But I'm afraid that the church has taught you to ask for furniture and not trees. See, some of you, you've been praying for a while. God, please just send me a table. God, send me some furniture. God, send it to me. And God's like, I don't make tables. I make trees. There's trees in your life. What are you going to do with that? You need to meet me halfway. I've given you this tree. What are you going to do with the ability and the free will that I've given you and the creativity that I've designed you with? What are you going to do with that to serve me? I've given you those gifts. I've given you those talents. Look for those opportunities, and when you get those opportunities, you step into it, because God has designed you to be unique and to use your gifts and talents for Him. And you may say, yeah, Eric, but sometimes I'll go down to Be More Caring, which we do the third Tuesday of every month, and I'll go and serve, and I don't really feel like being there. I go, and I know I should go, and I know I'm gifted at it, but just sometimes it's a hard day, and I don't feel like doing it. Yeah, Eric, but sometimes I come here, and I set up early, and I hate it, and I don't really want to do it. I'm way too tired. I don't feel like doing that. Listen, if that's you, and you serve even when you don't feel like it, what better testimony of putting your needs aside for somebody else than doing it even when you don't feel like it? What better way? What better testimony to the glory of God than when you say, you know what, God, I really don't feel like doing this today, but you know what? I want to serve you anyways, and I'm going to use the gifts and talents you have given me to help somebody else. What better way to preach than by doing that? See, here's what Jesus says, Matthew 25. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. So the question I want to close with, and then we'll sing a song together, is how are you serving? How are you taking the opportunity that God has given you to use your gifts and talents to prove to God that you love Him by serving someone else? How are you doing that? Because no matter who you are called to put others first through service. That's what you're called to do. We're all called to do that. So how does that look in your life? Do you need to find a way that you can serve here? Go to the iPad to check out what teams we have here. You plug right in. Maybe for you it's not here. Maybe it's outside of here, just changing your heart and finding those opportunities, those trees that God has given you and using your creativity to serve other people. But how are you serving? Because if Matthew 25 is right, we should really take that seriously. That Jesus is going to say, hey, I'm glad you did all this other stuff, but you didn't love them. You didn't serve them. This is not something that we can just push aside and go, well, I don't have time. Well, I don't like to do that. Well, I don't want to get up early. Well, yeah, but Jesus says, what you do to the least of these, you do for me. No matter who you are called to put others first by the way you serve. We pray together. Dear God, we just take this time to worship you, to connect with you. Dear God, I just pray that you just speak to us right now. Speak to us in that area that we need to focus on. God, I pray that you bring to mind right now the trees that you've been giving us, the opportunities that we have right in front of us to show we love you by serving other people. God, I pray that you help us to take whatever step we need to take to find time and find ways to serve others, to show that we love you by loving them. I thank you for being a God of grace, that no matter where we are today, no matter what we've done, that you love us and you do not need us to do anything to earn salvation, but just to freely step in. But God, we want to show you how much we love you. We want to follow you closer. And we know the only way to do that is by loving them. God, I pray that even when we don't feel like it, that you give us the courage and the discipline to take that step and say, you know what? I'm still going to serve. Because God's given me the opportunity. He's made me uniquely. And I want to love others. Serving shows that I love others. And when I love others, show that I love you. Thank you for being a God that came for us. That showed us servant leadership that came to serve. Help us to follow your example, to put others first through serving. In your son's name, amen. And let's sing our theme song together with Grace. Let's stand and let's sing together.